You might be wondering how to remember so many landmark Supreme Court cases for UPSC and what each judgment actually changes on the ground. So let us clear that up right away. By the end of this video, you will be completely clear about these key cases and why they matter for your mains and interview answers. We'll keep this simple, visual, and exam focused, with a beginner-friendly flow so the ideas stick. First, think of the Ninth Schedule as a legal shield where Parliament tried to hide laws from judicial review. And the Ayar Coelho case asked whether that shield is absolute. In Ayar Coelho from 2007, the Supreme Court said laws placed in the Ninth Schedule after April 24, 1973 can be examined if they damage the basic structure of the Constitution. So the shield is not invincible. For UPSC, remember Article 31B and the Vaman Rao link, because questions often test the limits of parliamentary power versus basic structure doctrine. Next, imagine a hospital facing a heartbreaking decision about life support. The Aruna Shanbhog case set the rules for that scenario. Aruna Shanbhog in 2011 allowed passive euthanasia under strict procedures with High Court oversight and a medical committee, establishing safeguards rather than open permission for euthanasia. In answers, link this to Article 21 and procedural safeguards when discussing right to life and medical ethics. Think of NOTA as a safety valve in elections that lets voters say none of the above without breaking secrecy. That was clarified in the PUCL case. People's Union for Civil Liberties in 2013 directed the Election Commission to include a NOTA option to protect the right not to vote and the secrecy of the ballot under Articles 14 and 21. For UPSC, NOTA is an easy example to cite under electoral reforms and freedom of expression in polity answers. Next, when politicians are convicted, who should stay in office was the heart of Lily Thomas. The Lily Thomas judgment of 2013 struck down a provision that let convicted lawmakers continue in office, causing immediate disqualification and reinforcing equality before law under Articles 102 and 191. Use this case to illustrate judicial correction of legislative overreach on disqualification rules in your answers. For administrative reform, think of TSR Subramanian as the court telling governments to fix the civil service machinery. In 2013, the court directed the creation of civil service boards, minimum tenures, and written instructions to reduce arbitrariness in transfers and postings. This case is handy in governance or administrative reform sections of UPSC answers. For rights and identity, the Nalsa judgment gave a strong visual and legal recognition to transgender persons. National Legal Services Authority in 2014 declared transgender persons as a third gender and affirmed fundamental rights under Articles 14 and 21, directing affirmative measures and legal recognition. Remember NALSA for questions on social justice, rights of marginalized groups, and evolving constitutional interpretation. When thinking about free speech online, the Shreya Singhal case drew a clear red line. In 2015, the Supreme Court struck down Section 66A of the IT Act as vague and violative of Article 19, protecting online speech and limiting arbitrary curbs. Cite this case for contemporary debates on regulation of digital speech in ethics and polity essays. The NJAC episode tested the balance between judicial independence and reform in appointing judges. The Supreme Court in 2015 invalidated the 99th Amendment and the National Judicial Appointments Commission, restoring the collegium system to protect judicial independence as part of the basic structure. Use NJAC to discuss checks and balances, separation of powers, and the basic structure doctrine in mains answers. For personal law reform, Shreya Bano is a clear example of constitutional morality checking religious practices. Shreya Bano in 2017 struck down triple talaq as arbitrary and violative of Article 14 and asked the government to frame a law, later leading to the Triple Talaq Act of 2019. This case is crucial for questions on gender justice, personal laws, and constitutional rights. Finally, think of privacy as the invisible space around a person that must be legally protected. And Puttaswamy made that explicit. K.S. Puttaswamy in 2017 declared the right to privacy as intrinsic to Article 21, creating a threefold test of legality, need, and proportionality for any intrusion. Puttaswamy is vital for questions on Aadhaar, surveillance, data protection, and civil liberties in the modern state. Quick exam insight. These cases repeatedly test themes like basic structure, Article 21, balance of powers, and rights versus state interest. So frame answers around doctrine, holding, and impact. To remember them, visualize one simple image per case. Shield for 9th schedule. Bedside for Arna Shanbo. Nota button for PUCL. Courtroom for Lily Thomas. Service board for TSR. Rainbow for Nalsa. Keyboard for Shreya Singhal. Balance for NJAC. Divorce paper for Shayara Banu. And lock for Puttaswamy. And towards the end, we will understand a key idea that most UPSC aspirants miss, which is that the court's reasoning and constitutional principle matter more than just the outcome when you craft mains answers. In short, focus on the principle, the constitutional provision involved, and the policy impact, and you will convert these cases into crisp, high-value mains content. Keep revising these images and link each case to a short one-line rule you can recall under pressure. Thank you for listening. Stay curious and keep building connections between cases and constitutional principles to boost your UPSC preparedness. If you want structured notes and practice questions on each judgment, continue learning with EduRev, where these cases are explained with memory aids and tests.